in memory of Shirley Wing, a retired bus driver with the school district, and Sergeant Jacob Daniel Baker, who's a 2018 graduate of Royce Ketchum High School and recently passed away. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3.02, we will be opening a public hearing on the 2023-2024 district-wide school safety plan. Trustee Miggins, if you could read the motion, please.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby open the public hearing on the 2023-2024 district-wide school safety plan at this time.
Do you have a motion? Trustee Spencer, second. Trustee Johnson, all in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. The public hearing is now open. We would like to have a presentation at this time to begin the public hearing on the district school safety plan. Dr. Bonk, do you want to frame the discussion for us, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Vice President Morgan. As we've stated continuously, the health, welfare, and safety of our students and our staff is and will remain our top priority. I need to thank Assistant Superintendent Lokema, who at the district office oversees safety, health, and wellness. This presentation that he will give this evening is a compilation of all of the stakeholders within our district, within our schools, within our community, members of law enforcement, parents, to have discussions as to the types of provisions, protocols, and policies that we want to ensure the safety of our staff and our students here in Wappingers. And I am very pleased at the work that has been done, the countless amounts of hours, the conversation, the collaboration, and the listening that has been done to gather input from our entire community as to what our community believes are the issues that we need to be aware of and that we need to prepare for. So with that, Mr. Lokema, I thank you, all of the members of the district safety team, the building safety teams, all of the principals that are involved, and so on and so forth. So I look forward to your presentation and thank you for your work.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Superintendent, members of the Board of Education. This is an annual process as part of Education Law 2801, as well as Commissioner's Regulation 155.17, that prior to every school year by a certain date, the district-wide safety plan must be made available for a 30-day public comment period. This evening opens up that comment period to discuss the draft 23-24 district-wide safety plan. The plan itself doesn't really have much material change, except for something that came by as an amendment to the Commissioner's Regulations for 155.17 that came out in May. So just 3 months ago, the state adopted, or the Commissioner said that we need to, that the new regulation requires districts add an emergency remote instruction provision to their district-wide safety plan. And in that provision, there are 6 subcomponent regulations that we're required to codify in the event that we need to provide remote instruction in an emergency situation. So it's
Which I can say we do not anticipate.
well, right, yeah, we would certainly hope to not have to endure that again, but I think it was just the logical wisdom of just basically saying, look, we understand that that emergencies happen and that we think that districts should, and hopefully they never have to use, codified plans that would provide for remote instruction that covers these 6 tenets. One is, of course, to be making sure that hardware, computer devices are available to all students. I'll just go through them very briefly. That there are policies to ensure, or there's procedures in place to ensure that students who do not have internet connectivity at home, that the district can somehow provide that. 3, that staff understand the proportion of time spent between synchronous and asynchronous instruction on days where remote instruction is being provided under emergency conditions. 4, a description of how instruction will occur for those students for whom remote instruction is not available, so for those who need special accommodations. 5, a description of how special education and related services, those services that are provided beyond the classroom itself to students with disabilities, will be still provided as applicable. And then 6, for school districts that receive foundation aid, the estimated number of instructional hours a school district intends to claim for state aid purposes, we need 990 hours for our secondary schools and 900 hours for our elementary schools, which we provide on a regular school day. They want to ensure that our plan for remote instruction will be able to provide the same minimum number of hours of instruction in a remote safety, remote instruction period. So thankfully, we have an incredible team in our professional development office, and they had put together a wonderful remote learning manual during COVID, which covers most of these tenets. But again, this came out in May, so this gives us an opportunity to still go back and look at this document. But there's a link here at the bottom, which I won't click because you just can't read it. The screen's really small anyway. That takes us to this remote learning plan, which we're now linking to in our district-wide safety plan. That pretty much covers most of the regulations listed in what is required out of this new guidance. That is the bulk of what has changed and what is updated in our district-wide safety plan for 23-24. The plan was reviewed by the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES Regional Safety Services team, and they made some, very basic updates with regards to contacts and, some other little things here or there. They're minor edits, but the bulk of the difference between this upcoming year's plan, this draft plan, and last year's plan is the new regulations requiring us to include the remote instruction plan in our safety plan. And that's it. Anyone has any questions?
Trustees, any questions for Assistant Superintendent Wakima? Thank you very much, Mr. Wakima. At this time, we will move to the section of the public hearing that allows for public comment on the district-wide school safety plan. I know that quite a few people do tune in to these board meetings via YouTube. This plan has been available for in excess of 30 days in advance of this evening for public comment. The district actually set up a specific email for comments on the school safety plan. That's wcsd.comments@wcsdny.org, and we are holding the required public hearing right now. Ms. Pedro, do we have anybody that has signed up for public comment? Is there anybody here this evening that didn't know before right now that they needed to sign up to make public comment? Seeing no action on that, I will ask Trustee Miggets to read the next motion to close the public hearing.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby close the public hearing and resumes the regular board meeting.
So moved by Trustee Kellen. Got a second by Trustee Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Great. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Moving along to our structured and intentional public comment portion of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to listen to public comment. Although New York State law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. The board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a debate or dialogue. Please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. We take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. Any questions from the public should be submitted through the use of the public comment form, which may be obtained online or at the desk of the district clerk. We will have the proper staff member get back to you as appropriate. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to address any comments or questions about specific students or school personnel. We would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow for public comments on agenda items only. Public comment at the beginning of the meeting is limited only to items on the agenda. Persons who wish to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting are asked to provide their name and the specific agenda item about which they wish to speak. A sign-up sheet is located on the desk with the district clerk up front. Individual comments on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes and are welcome. If you wish to address items related to our school district that are not on this evening's agenda, another comment period is provided at the end of the meeting for that purpose. A second sign-up sheet is currently available for non-agenda items. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of views, clapping, booing, or any other disturbance or disruption during either public comment period is not permitted. At this time, comments related to agenda items are welcome. Ms. Pedro, do we have anybody signed up for public comment? Thank you. Seeing none, we will move to communications and announcements received by the Board of Education. That's item number 4.02. Do we have any communications or announcements? Trustee Kelman.
I had the opportunity to view the summer school law conference offered by the New York State School Boards Association, together with Ms. Johnson, and to attend the summer law conference by the Mid-Hudson School Study Council at Mount St. Mary's with Ms. Johnson and Mr. Morgan, and also to attend the conference in Albany on school leadership together with Mrs. Miggets and Mrs. Johnson. All of them were extremely valuable, and I recommend them highly to board members if they have the opportunity, because it keeps us up to date on education law and issues. The one in Albany, the Commissioner of Education attended part of it, and her principal deputies attended the whole thing. So, and the information we got at all the conferences was very useful. I would be happy to share them with other board members. We have printouts, and Ms. Pedro, I'm sure, will share those with the central administration as well as other board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kelman. Trustee Miggets.
Yes, this summer I've been following some of the off-season happenings with some of our students. And I would like to say there was a lot of very good news in the past 2 weeks regarding the Ketchum baseball team. 2 of the rising senior athletes have committed to Division I programs for after high school. Riley Weatherwax has committed to become a Penn State Nittany Lion, and Ryan Mealy has committed to Monmouth University. In addition to that, Owen Pano was selected to play in a national all-star game of high school aged athletes, and he has also been nominated to serve on the USA national team.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes, I'd also like to say that during the policy virtual conference that Ms. Kellen and I did, Trustee McFarland also joined us for that. I have extra links for that, so if anybody would like to see that information, it was on policy, and there was a lot of stuff that came through that was really, really very useful. A lot of the things that we learned up in Albany at the Leadership in Education, there was several of them that I can't wait to get to Buffalo with Ms. Kellen. There was a lot of information on AI and how it's being used now. And there's several more classes, I guess, or seminar parts of it at Buffalo, which I'm looking forward to attending along with several other things. So anybody that has any interest in our Buffalo conference, we'll get you those items and let us know if you want us to try and find more information on those while we're there.
Any other members of the board? Thank you very much. Item 4.03 is committee reports and board representatives. I was going to report on the New York State School Boards Association Summer Law Conference, as well as the law conference locally, but that's already been reported on. So we will move to item 5.01, the superintendent's report. Dr. Bond.
Thank you very much, Vice President Morgan. The summer is nearing a conclusion. Can you believe it? It is the middle of August, but I want our community to know that much work has been done here in the Wappinger Central School District. We had nearly 1,000 of our students participate in summer activities, whether it be our district-wide summer school, our extended school year program, or other academic enrichment programs. I see this as becoming the norm. I can tell you that they have all been extremely successful. I would like to thank our summer school principal, Ms. DeStefano, our extended extended school year program principal, Ms. Costabile, and everyone involved in the Office of Curriculum and Instruction for all of their efforts during the course of the summer. We may not have a full year of school, but I believe that we will have pretty close to a full year of opportunities for our students as we continue to see that they need additional programs and services that we are unable to provide them during the school year. So I want to thank all of those individuals. I also want to thank our Facilities and Operations Department. If you've gone throughout the district over the last couple of weeks, you've seen transformations of roofs, buildings, parking lots, athletic fields, and some other things that you probably haven't seen that are in the inner workings of the building that have been repaired and some newly constructed. If you get a chance to go over to our crown jewel, the original schoolhouse in the Wappinger Central School District, you'd be hard-pressed to recognize Wappinger's Junior High School with all of the improvements. And that is just the beginning of what we have planned here within our district over the coming years. So I want to continue to thank our community for their overwhelming support of our capital projects. You may be aware that over the past year and a half, this district has advocated tirelessly for additional funding for student health and wellness and ways to address the learning loss that many of our students suffered during the COVID pandemic. I am very proud to say that Governor Hochul has come forth with $108 million in grants that will be awarded to school districts over the next 2 years to be able to implement some of these necessary services and programs. You're well aware that we've incorporated student mental health and wellness and school safety into our budget over the last 2 years. And it has made a difference, but we've got to do more. We've got to do more in a manner that we're able to budget and that we're able to sustain over future years. The fact that now we have grants that are available in these areas is going to require us to collaborate as we have and will continue to with local law enforcement, mental health agencies, whether that be through the county or the state. There are services that our students need to be provided outside of the regular academic program. And again, we are committed to not only the academic success, but the social and emotional success of all of our students as well as our staff. We have to make sure that those programs and services are developed and that they are implemented in an equitable fashion for all of our students. I would like to thank Dr. Cardwell and Assistant Superintendent Zip for their work on preparing those grants. I am very, very hopeful, having attended the Governor's Summit in Manhattan last June, that the governor as well as our elected officials in Albany are committed to providing these necessary programs. And I look forward in the future to sharing some of the exciting initiatives and positive impacts that we're going to be making throughout our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bond. I think at least part of what you said is a good transition to the next item. So something that the board and central administration has been looking at is not only delivering a financially responsible budget, but also a sustainable one. And you can't have that discussion without talking about taxes that are collected by the school district. So the next item on the agenda is 6.01, the tax rate presentation. Dr. Bonk, would you please provide a brief introduction?
I would be more than happy to. So the district has received all information from all sources to calculate the 23-24 tax rates. The rates are going to be presented this evening and explained by our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Business Development, Ms. Kristen Dainty. I think it is important to indicate that the majority of what will be shared this evening is good news. We have seen 2 counties in New York State that have grown in enrollment. One of those counties, or I should say that have grown in population, one of those counties is Saratoga, the other county is Dutchess. So I think people want to enjoy the quality of life that exists here. And Ms. Dainty will explain exactly how that impacts the tax rates in the 9 municipalities that we serve, which also include a portion of Putnam County and the town of Kent and Phillipstown. Ms. Dainty? Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the time this evening to have a discussion on the 23-24 tax rate presentation. It seems to have a mind of its own right now on the screen. However, we will be starting off our presentations with the superintendent's mantra, I guess, for next year, called Taking the Next Step. So we've grown. We are now getting ready to take that next step as we move past the COVID pandemic. We would like to thank the Board of Education.
Well said.
I think I heard it from someone before. We would like to thank the Board of Education as well as senior staff, as we always do, as we move through this process and start this tax season. So to get a better understanding of what school tax rates mean, they're made up of 3 different areas. Assessments, which are the valuation of the real property, and we received that information from the counties in late July. Equalization rates, which are set by New York State, and that is basically a method that is used to have the market value match the assessed value of the property. So as you'll see as we move through the presentation, many of the Dutchess County towns are at a 1.0 equalization rate, which we may or may not believe to be true based on how the real estate market has been. However, that is what is being utilized. Rates that are under 1% means that there are adjustments that need to be made to the assessed values in order to make them align, according to New York State, with the real property value for sale on the market. And the third piece is the tax levy. So of those 3, it is important to note that Wappingers really has only control over the tax levy. And it has been the district's goal, and it has been achieved the last 2 years, to stay below the tax cap levy limit. Superintendent has made that a priority, as has the Board of Education, and this year, again, for 23-24, we were able to achieve that goal. The tax cap we just discussed does apply to the tax levy. We were below that, again, for 23-24. It was at 2%, and the district was below that 2%. We comply with all of the STAR reporting requirements that are required from New York State. The superintendent also has quarterly municipality meetings wherein we discuss what it's looking like for developments, student enrollment, etc., development in the towns surrounding the district, so that we are in tune and we can start to make decisions that have an impact that will mirror what we see in our communities. We have all of our tax and budget information available on the website. For 23-24, this is something we saw many, many times during the budget presentations, but basically outlines what our levy to levy comparison was, 1.67%, and what our budget to budget was, 8.05%, being below the cap. how do we have such a large budget to budget increase? It was because we received significant increased amounts of New York State aid that was well-deserved, foundation aid for the district, and we were able to meet the needs of the district, sustain the programs, maintain the programs that the superintendent actually just discussed a few moments ago.
And I think it's also important to mention that we were also able to save some of that money in our fund balance to utilize it when we as a community felt that it was time in the areas that we felt were priorities. I think that's important to mention. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for adding that. The next slide is also part of our presentation from the budget. It's the revenue by source. It just gives an explanation as to what percentage, what revenue makes up each percentage. And as you can see, the levy is 64.36%. In the past, that levy amount has been higher, much closer to 75%. So the reliance on state aid, because of the increase that we received, allowed us to have a smaller levy that the taxpayers in the community would then be responsible for. So when we calculate those taxes, we go back to those three main areas. We have assessments, which I had indicated. We get that information from the towns at the end of July. New this year for Wappingers was the volunteer firefighter and EMS exemption. We have had clergy and firefighter exemptions in the past. However, this was the first year for the volunteer firefighter and EMS exemption. We did see that there was a larger than what we've experienced exemption for clergy and firefighter, meaning that those volunteer firefighters took the opportunity to utilize that exemption, which was wonderful. It did not have any impact on the town of Poughkeepsie, as you'll see, with regard to rates for other members of that community. So it was great to see that the exemption was put in place, it was utilized, and it did not have any significant effect. We do have a tax grievance day that's available for taxpayers in each of the towns. It's in May, and therefore allows for those values to be delivered to the district by mid-June. As I indicated, the second piece is that equalization rate. It's a little bit hard to see on this screen. However, the thing that we really want to point out here is that there is a significant change. East Fishkill is still at 100% or 1. Fishkill, Poughkeepsie, Wappinger, all at 1. LaGrange had a significant deduction, almost double digit, from 81% or 8.1% in 22-23 to 71.2. An equalization rate is an inverse relationship to a tax rate. So if your assessed values go down and your equalization rate stays the same, your tax rates will have the inverse relationship. Here we have tax equalization rates going down, assessed values remaining about constant, and tax rates increasing, inverse. Putnam County has the same type of decrease. That's Kent and Phillipstown. We've recognized that over the past couple of years. This is not anything that the district can control. This is just something that we monitor because our tax rates for Dutchess County have always been pretty much aligned. This year, they are not aligned anymore as a result of these equalization rate changes in the town of LaGrange. Tax levy, we've talked about it a lot, and it's just the third piece in the calculation. So what does it look like this year? With our tax levy increase of about 1.67% and the assessed values remaining pretty much constant, equalization rates remaining constant with the exception of LaGrange, we are proud to say that there's an approximate, the approximate rate for the average homestead in Dutchess County is $15.14 per thousand. That's a 40% decrease, 40 cent decrease from the previous year. If we took LaGrange out of that, which has such an increase in rates, it would be almost a $2 rate decrease in those households that are not in LaGrange. So it's pretty significant, but because we do share everything with, we share everything as a county, we've combined it. For 23-24, the non-homestead average rate is $23.45 per thousand, which is also a 17-cent increase from 22-23. And here's where you can see the changes that really have not occurred in those assessed values. They're pretty much constant. There's not been any big swings. That means that we have stability, we have small amount of growth to offset any changes in those assessed values, meaning that Dutchess County in and of itself is pretty solid with regard to our property assessed values at this time. All of our historical data for taxes are available on the website for the last several years. And so what we want to focus on as we move forward is that we have been able to provide the budget being fiscally responsible that includes long-term planning and is below the tax cap. Solid property tax values in the town and villages in Dutchess County. We've seen consistent New York State equalization rates with the exception of LaGrange in Dutchess County, and minimum increases in the tax levy for WCSD taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent Dainty. Trustees, are there any questions on the presentation? Hearing none, we'll move to agenda item 6.02, which is approval of the just presented 2023-2024 tax rates. Trustee Meggetts.
Be it resolved that in accordance with section 1307 of the Real Property Tax Law, the Board of Education on August 14th, 2023 at 8:13 p.m. does hereby authorize the district clerk to certify to the chief fiscal officer of each town listed below the amount of the 2023-2024 school taxes to be levied on the real property located in that portion of the school district. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education does hereby authorize the district clerk on August 14th, 2023 at 8:13 p.m. to certify to the chief fiscal officer of each town listed below the amount of the town assessor's omitted school taxes to be levied on the real property located in that portion of the school district. To collect taxes in the total sum of $184,223,905 less the STAR reimbursement amount as provided by the appropriate governmental authority, in the same manner that collectors are authorized to collect town and county taxes in accordance with the provisions of sections 1318 of the Real Property Tax Law. And be it further resolved that the tax rates for each town per $1,000 of assessed value are as follows. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education approve the 2023-2024 true value tax rate for the district at $15.16. 2023-2024 tax collection dates are September 11th, 2023 to October 10th, 2023 regular collection, October 11th, 2023 to November 1st, 2023 2% penalty.
Do we have a motion? Moved by Trustee McFarland, second by Trustee Kelland. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye, unanimous.
Thank you very much, and we'd just like to remind the board members to please stop at the district clerk's table. All of the tax warrants need to be signed, so you will need to provide us with your signature set of times this evening. Before you leave tonight, it is imperative that you do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we move to, or as part of moving to 7.01 on the agenda, the consent agenda resolution, are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda? Trustee Johnson.
7.11, item number 2.
Anybody else? I would also like to pull item 7.03, item 9G.
Resolved, the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 7.02, 7.03, 7.04, 7.05, 7.06, 7.06. Oh, with the exception of, okay, I was going to do that at the end, okay. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 7.02, 7.03 with the exception of item number 9G, 7.04, 7.05, 7.06, 7.07, 7.08, 7.09, 7.10, 7.11 with the exception of item number 2, 7.12, and 7.13.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Johnson, second by trustee Kelland. All in favor? Unanimous. 7.03.
Yes, 7.03, item 9G. Resolved that the reading of the teaching and administrative personnel list be waived.
Any guidance, Ms. Pedro?
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve agenda item 7.03, item 9G, as stated.
Do we,
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve 7.03, item 9G, as stated.
motion? Trustee McFarland, second by trustee Johnson. Any discussion? I'd just like to state that I think it's important to support the elected class officers and their ability to collaborate with administrators and faculty in determining class-sponsored activities. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carries. We have one more, Cheryl.
Whereas the Board of Education has received a request for a field trip departing from John Jay High School Athletics, baseball, to travel to Fort Pierce, Florida, trip ID 8076, and whereas the dates for the trip are March 26th through April 2nd, 2024, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve said requested dated June 22nd, 2023 from Eric Frink.
Do we have a motion? Trustee Kelland, we have a second? So your pen ready to go. Trustee McFarland, and on the second. Any comments or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I'm pulling that for reasons that I've stated personally. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries. That moves us on to new business. Item 8.01 is the approval of new club charters at John Jay. You read the motion, please.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new first-year club charters at John Jay High School as submitted. Health and Medicine Club, the Patriot Newspaper Club, and the Science Research Club.
So moved by trustee Spencer, seconded by trustee Kelland. Any discussion on the motion? I'd just like to say that a long time ago, more than 2 decades, might be more than 2 decades, but I remember when there was a John Jay newspaper and wrote a couple articles for it. So it was fun to see that come up on the agenda. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Approved unanimously. Okay, item 8.02, approval of a new club charter at Royce Ketchum High School.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new first-year club charter at Royce Ketchum High School as submitted, multicultural club.
So moved by trustee Spencer, seconded by trustee Johnson. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Item 8.03. That's correct. Item 8.03, we're going to designate board members to report on the upcoming building tours. In President Lumia's absence, I will appoint trustee McFarland and trustee Johnson to report back to the board following those tours. And the final item for new business is 8.04, approval to join the Lower Hudson Valley Education Coalition. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, last year, trustee Odoms asked that we give a presentation. I wondered if you wanted that again done this year, a formal PowerPoint. I'm just asking because I want to be prepared to do it properly. You sure? Well, no, if he wanted it, I have no problem doing it. I just want to make sure if anybody else wanted it done, I would make sure it was done.
That's okay, thank you, Beth.
But we don't want like a puppet show with the light projector either, just to be clear. Item 8.04, we're moving right along.
8.04, resolve that the Board of Education does hereby elect to join the Lower Hudson Education Coalition for the 2023-2024 school year for an annual membership fee of $925.
Motion by trustee Kellen, second by trustee McFarland. All in favor of the motion? Unanimous. Before we move on to item 9, I would like to turn the microphone back over to Dr. Bond to pass along some good news.
Thank you, Vice President Morgan. Wanted to make our community aware of a couple of items. If you can see on TV or if you are in the crowd, you can see that there is an additional member sitting at the senior team table, and that is Miss Julia Montoya. She is our Executive Director of Special Education. I think it's important to note that as part of the reorganization that the district began planning for last May, hopefully in anticipation of additional funding coming in, we wanted to make sure that the types of services that we provide to all of our students, regardless of their classification, be provided. And we wanted to make sure that in addition to providing special education students with the programs and services that they needed, we also wanted to ensure that we had programs in place to do that for all of our students. So Mr. Zip is now the Assistant Superintendent for Student Support Services, and he will work with all segments of our student population, where Ms. Montoya will work directly with our special education component. We believe that this adjustment meets the needs of our student enrollment, our student population. We want to make sure that we provide as many services programs possible to our students, and we believe moving forward that this reorganization is something that will benefit our school district and our students. In addition to that, there were 2 individuals that were approved, and I couldn't be happier. They're with us this evening. Mr. Posner was appointed assistant principal at John Jay High School. Let's give him a round of applause. And I believe that he fills the niche necessary to have a very, very strong administrative team at John Jay High School. I'd like to thank all of the administrators at John Jay and the staff that were involved in the interview process. Similarly, Mrs. Posada was appointed assistant principal at Royce C. Ketchum High School. Let's give her a round of applause. And once again, I have to commend our building administration for going through a thorough process and delivering what I believe are the two best candidates that are going to be very, very successful. Again, Mrs. Posada fills a niche at Royce C. Ketchum High School, and again, makes that team even stronger. And as those teams are stronger and those schools are stronger, our district is indeed stronger. So welcome to Wappingers.
Thank you, Dr. Bonk, and on behalf of the Board of Education, just to be redundant, welcome to both of you. Requests for additions to the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda that any board member would like to make? Item 10.01, communications, comments related to the school district business are welcome at this time. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody signed up to speak? We do not. That means that we move directly and immediately to item number 11, adjournment. Does anybody want to make the motion to adjourn?
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby adjourn the August 14th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. The time is 8:27.
So moved.
There we go. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much.